we're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
If we were going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
Okay, first, who would be the funnest? Who would probably allow it?
Neither one, dude.
Hold on.
Neither one. Who would shut it down harder? Probably Christina.
For real?
Yeah, dude. She would not be okay with that at all.
Oh, she won't even give me your address at times.
I don't think she would.
I go, I'm coming over. What's your address? She goes, no. You're going to put it online.
Yeah, because you do things like that.
I don't put people's address online.
You put yours.
I did do that.
Yeah.
I did do that. That was a fucking
Also,
big tactical error.
Yeah.
That was fucking...
People showing up.
Oh, giving
How
out
about your phone number?
If we're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
If we were going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
I just have one question. Have the tariffs hit the price of podcast microphones yet? And if they have, is there a way to increase the tariffs so that they're more expensive?
So the two dumb bears are back at it again, and now they are discussing on which of their wives they are going to be able to run a train on. Yes, they are discussing which of their wives is going to allow them to run a train on them. They are discussing on which of their wives is going to be fun to run a train on. These men are basically ridiculous. If you do not know, they've been online before embarrassing their wives. These men keep embarrassing their wives online on their podcasts, and they are back at it again to not just embarrass their wives, but to also put them in danger, because other men are listening to this. Other men are actually listening to this, and they may actually see their wives as easy targets, because these husbands are not going to protect their wives. For all we know, they may just join in the fun if their wives are getting attacked. I've always said it that these men are not the protectors that they claim to be. These men claim to be protectors and providers, but they don't really provide anything for us, because we do pay for the provision they claim to give by giving them free labor. And when it comes to protection, they don't really protect us at all. These men are actually the danger they are protecting us from. Yes, they create the problem and they offer themselves up as the also glorious solution. Yes, they are going to make you feel in danger. They are going to put you in danger. They are going to make you feel unsafe. And then they are going to offer themselves as the protectors to protect you from the danger they are actually creating for you. Let's get into it.
We're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
If we were going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
Okay, first, who would be the funnest? Who would probably allow it?
Neither one, dude.
In addition to what they're actually talking about, it's the podcast name that's really getting to me. Two Bears, One Cave. When women talk about choosing the bear, they're not talking about either one of you. Just know that. The fact that they just casually just talked about running a train on either of their wives, this is what they mean when they talk about being with a man is humiliating. I was looking for the original clip of this video. I realized that it was actually posted in 2024 and reposted in 2025. The humiliation last year just wasn't enough. He had to do it again this year. I have an excellent memory, and I remember distinctly doing a video about this same man talking about how he loves his wife, but he wishes he had someone who was in her 20s, because when he told her something like, I just bought a brand new tour bus, she'd be impressed, and his wife would just ask him, how much is it? This is not his first time embarrassing his wife, and it definitely won't be his last, because now it's a part of his shtick. These are the kind of men that are always talking about the old ball and chain, the kind of men that make being a married man seem like some kind of torture or punishment. This is why some women find being with a man these days embarrassing, because look at what some women have to endure in order to say that they have one, to put up with being talked about like this so casually, publicly, and they wonder why the marriage rates are dropping. Look at how some of these men make it look. Of all the things they want to slap a tariff on, how come these podcast mics remain untouched?
If we're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
Did anybody else say something as a kid that got them popped, like out of the blue, kind of a surprise, hanging around with friends or family, and you say something you thought it would land, and boom, goes the dynamite. You're startled, right? You're not injured. You're not hurt, but you were, what the heck happened? Because that's what needs to happen here. I'm being dead serious. This is not about starting a fight. If you're around a guy that says shit like this and you're not immediately slapping the piss out of him, you are helping put another brick in the road that got us eventually to here, to I wonder what happened in Lake Michigan. Because the refusal and the rock bottom cowardice of the average male space to set any boundaries of decency and decorum is a part of how we get that far. And when some guys hear about, oh, you're not going to slap me, I'll kick your ass. It's not about violence. It's about when you were a kid, if that happened to you, the next time you had that thought for whatever you said, your brain automatically brought up getting checked. Okay, it was built-in correction at a neurological level, and you started to think about doing things different. And this podcast is an unfortunately really good example of how the majority of men's spaces eventually devolve into spaces that are built by and for abusers. And they are dismissed all along the way. Well, oh, this is locker room talk. Oh, it's just two guys having a yuck on their podcast. And on average, if a man or a woman, if anybody stands up and says, hey, what the fuck is this? What are we doing here? You're out. You're out of the space, right? And if you're still in it, you're now a target of abuse. The majority of men don't look at you as some like beacon of morality. They just look at you as another person to abuse because they feel entitled to be indulged on every sexual thought and desire that they will ever have. And to have you not just reward them for that, but participate in that with them. And I don't know. I know these guys. I know their sense of humor. I know their history. Somebody just slap the fuck out of that man, will you?
If we're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
If we were going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
Mind you, these are their wives. More than likely already the mother of their children. What fucking man? I would leave this nigga when he got home. That's what I'm talking about. I have to be with a man who's so secure, so I can't, because I can't have a bullshitter. This is bullshit. I have to have a nigga that would smack the shit out of his homeboy for even asking a question like that. Why? Could you imagine you sitting with your homegirl, she says to you, out of all of our husbands, who do you think would let us fuck? I'd smack, what? And for what? For a podcast? For shits and giggles? Like, I have to have a man who knows this is unacceptable. Unacceptable. It's one thing that is already disrespectful to the wives, but it's disrespectful towards each other as friends. What the fuck? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Men do not care about boundaries. They don't care about their friends' boundaries. They don't care about their own boundaries. Like, y'all just making up dumbass, stupid-ass questions for shock value for fucking podcasts. Is there not a number of fucking things to talk about?
If we're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
If we were going to run a train on one of our wives.
I was hoping that the tariffs were maybe going to run up the costs of podcasting equipment, so terrible, disgusting, gross takes like this can't be heard by the masses. But here we are.
If you think your husband or boyfriend are terrible people, look at this next clip.
If we're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
If we were going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
Who would be the funnest? Who would probably allow it?
I swear being a wife or a girlfriend in 2025 is a humiliation ritual, especially with the way social media is, because not only did they have this weird conversation, but they posted it online. Not once, but twice, I'm hearing. That is like, for millions to see. And their wives are still with them? That's crazy.
If we're going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
If we were going to run a train on one of our wives, who would it be?
This is quite possibly, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, the widest conversation I've ever heard in my life. I mean, it's funny.
Nigga, shut the fuck up. Honestly, I'm so sick of black men trying to virtue signal. Recently, they've been getting called out with their degenerate behavior with stuff like this. Hello, Diddy and all of his freak-offs. And instead of taking their lumps and admitting that they've created and have a huge part in this culture, they want to push it off as a white people thing to scare you into your place as a black woman. They want you to think, oh, it's dangerous out there. How can it be more dangerous out there when you invented the term running a train? And let's see what black men themselves say about their own behavior.
For my 17th birthday, I want to go on Tinder and run a train on a girl. That is an unforgettable moment. You and your homies will never forget about that moment, bro. Like, trust me.
That means Max, he's 16 right now. He didn't come up with this by himself. He's seen men and boys talking about this in his circle. And let me show you how commonplace this is, even younger.
I remember in middle school, I didn't know what running a train meant, and my friend wanted to do that. He was like, "Bro, you want to like run a train?" I was like, "Yeah," because I'm thinking he meant like hop and like catch a train. After school, he like takes me to this fucking house, and there's this fucking white girl, and I'm like, "We're gonna miss the train." And he's like, "Nah, like this is the train." I'm like, "What?" And he's like explaining it to me.
Say, P, if you 21 and up, and you still running trains on girls, bro, you weird, bro. You weird. As kids, I get it. We was learning. It was fun, whatever. But at 21 and up, you got to chill with that, P.
Do you hear this man? What he finds weird is not children engaging in group dynamics, group smacks with one child who probably isn't even a willing participant. It is that it to him is going on too long. Oh, once you're 21 and up, it's weird. It was weird the whole time. But you see the degenerate mindset? Because who thinks children doing this is normal? This is abnormal. For him to sit here and be like, oh, that's how we learn. It shows just a psychotic mindset. And I couldn't put in all the videos, but it's just, if you go look it up, running a trains, black men, whatever, you will find video after video like this. And these men talking about middle school, high school, children jumping on one child. And I want to talk about the non-consensual aspect, because there was a video I couldn't find where a black man says loud and proud, yeah, most of these guys' first experience is non-consensual, like for the girl. These men have been running trains, smugging girls, and he just talks about this openly and freely. And that video had thousands of comments from men confirming, oh yeah, this is how we do it when you grow up, and that's how you know not to go over to people's houses, and you can't take drinks or whatever. And we're talking about literal middle school. And I was surprised that there wasn't an outcry, because I was like, now if a woman said this, because there have been women on here basically saying the same thing from their perspective, that they became hyper-sexualized or whatever in high school, and as defense, they started to go along with it, or like say to themselves, this is consensual, so they wouldn't feel victimized. But they talked about how they were never protected, and of course the men wanted to get all up in arms. Oh, don't try to change your mind. You knew what you were doing. Like, no, you all are grapists, and let's have some videos that prove that.
We used to run trains on white girls.
Choo choo. She's got a Robin Hood.
We used to do it without permission. So it's not like she came over and said, hey, I want to sleep with all you guys.
Yeah.
We say, hey, man, that white girl like you. Get over here. And then we put,
shit.
Yeah. We just come in.
Thanks to the creator Just Huggy for exposing that they were talking about this. But I want you to notice something. So earlier in that clip about the middle school guy, he said, oh, there was a white girl involved. And then when this guy, Charleston White, said that they were doing this to white girls, one of the Fresh and Fit guys said, oh, you're Robin Hood. There's this idea that the demographics try to push, that them SAing white girls or disrespecting or whatevering white girls is some form of reparations. Please do not fall for that BS. Because it's what they try to push to get away with it. Nate Parker, they're like, oh, well, it was just a white girl. Kobe Bryant, oh, white girls always lie on a black man. First of all, do not allow anybody to weaponize you, black woman, and your real trauma to support them victimizing another woman. Because I can guarantee you, if in the social context of the repercussions they know they're going to have if anybody catches them, they would do that to a white woman. They have done it to a black woman. Eldridge Cleaver wrote in his own autobiography, Soul on Ice, that he used to practice for when he was going to assault white women by assaulting black ones. So no, does nothing for you. Do not stand in solidarity with these men and let them make you believe that you are helping a brother out and that Miss Ann is trying to get them locked up or whatever. No, they are rapists. And if they would assault a woman who they have a higher likelihood of being convicted or at least facing a social repercussion for harming, they will surely assault you. It's not empowering. I desire for no woman to be hurt. I have no idea how for so long black men have been able to implant that notion into your heads that like, oh, this is somehow helpful, or yeah, they're gonna hurt or harm or disrespect or whatever white women, and it's somehow supposed to be a tribute to you. Like, no. But that's what they will do. They will use the idea of racial solidarity to push the things that they really want to do. Because how is harming any woman doing anything against the racist structure? It's doing nothing. If you want to do something for the people, educate the children, be involved fathers. But you're doing what you want to do, assault women, and then you try to spin it as some sort of civil rights, some kind of reparations, when all you're doing is triangulating women to enable your own harm, and it's BS. And when men will say stuff like this out loud, it lets me know they are open to far more violence, because in this clip, it seemed like they were using the implication. They jumped out and they used the threat of force. The idea that if she did not go along, they would hurt her. But like, if you look at other clips that are online, you'll see actual force is being used. Like, they will break into rooms and hold you down. And here we see more. I'm not including these creators' names because I don't want them being bothered. I don't want y'all going over there trying to aggravate them. But this young lady posted this recently. She said, a friend told me that these 3 guys were trying to run a train on me when I was in the shower. And look at the language. I think it's just become so ingrained in our psyches to say run a train. She took a shower at either her friend's house or her own room, and these men heard she was in the shower and were going to try to break in and attack her because they're grapists. And I really want you to think about that. If you start with the mindset in middle school that you're, supposed to be, quote, running trains, and that this is normal, you will start to hypersexualize women. And anytime you think of one as being in a state of undress or whatever, like in the shower, you're going to think you are entitled to her body. And also, these guys are just rapists. But like, that's because they have been so oversaturated. They have just gotten into the environment where this is so completely normal. They're looking for any vulnerability, any time where you're not going to be on your guard to try to attack you. She says, her friend told her friend blocked the door and kept her safe until she was able to get out of that situation. But like, what a bunch of psychotics. And it's not that it's strangers. This Black woman went viral just last month for talking about how out of the blue, her supposed friends tried to take her phone and lock her in a room and assault her. They literally held her hostage and tried to force her against her will. But blessedly, she was able to get out of this dangerous situation. But what was so interesting is when she mentioned the idea of calling the police, she had to call the police to get out of the situation, but she was like, I don't think they could even help me with like filing charges or anything. As she so aptly said, they don't do anything for the people who have actually been assaulted, let alone the people who've just been like locked up and threatened with harm. I was like, these men had no qualms locking her in the room, but were looking crazy. Oh, you're calling the police on a Black man? You can't even see my face, but I'm just rolling my eyes in deep disgust. And that's why you can't let them exploit these things. There is no unity, because they will use this idea that we are all one to keep out of punishment, out of trouble, to keep from being held accountable when they harm women, Black or white. And it's BS. Oh, you gonna call the police on me, sister? Another Black man in jail. If you're a rapist, you need to go to prison. Like, I'm gonna call twice just to make sure they get you. But this is why I tell y'all to stay away from the demos, from their own lips. I'm not making this up. This is what they get online and say voluntarily.
So me and this group of guys used to run trains, right? And if the group was the Jackson 5, I was kind of like the Michael Jackson of the group because, I was the youngest. I wanted to go solo because I felt like I was the most talented. But anyways, the conductor was talking to me, right? And he's like, yo,
Black Ryan Seacrest, who has over 500,000 followers, and what he found weird about the situation was the way that the quote conductor was trying to control his behavior. So once again, they have no problem with group dynamics, group smacks, but he had the issue with the guy trying to quote tell him what to do. And he's just online talking about this openly. And notice how they've invented all this lingo, conductor, caboose, but we're supposed to think the other men are the degenerates. Okay. This guy made a quote-unquote joke video about running a train and like your homeboy trying to like get to whatever on your turn, like trying to be too interactive. And this guy says, not a single unique experience. That's from last month. Billy Hackett, bro, don't make eye contact with me. It's weird. Not doing that, but him having eye contact with his homeboy. Peg says, we have all experienced this. Almost 500 comments, and you can go back and look, and they're just like that. You know what? Says Casey, hell yeah. Hoodie Swisher says, definitely relate. One commenter says, why is it so funny? Someone else says, cause it's so true. They're all talking about how relatable this experience is with the homeboy. But Ruthless says, but who kissed a girl though? So it's perfectly normal to have group unprotected smacks with your homies and one young lady. But to kiss a woman on the mouth is weird. These men need to do some serious self-examination.
Running a train on shorty doesn't sound that bad. Especially if it's not your shorty, man. Like, nothing wrong with that. Like, if you're really thorough, link your best bros. Like, come on. Tag them in. I don't understand what everyone's objections to it is. Like, choo, guys. Like, come on, have some fun. Ain't no fun unless the homies don't get none.
Remember, ain't no fun if the homies can't have none? Black Men had this song going triple platinum in the hood, blasting it at full volume. If I even read these lyrics, my account would get banned, but check them out for yourself. So, the demographics have made an internationally known anthem about running trains, but we're supposed to be afraid of the other men. Okay. But this is the thing. When you get called out, there are really only two options. Actually change and become a better man. They're not going to do that. Or try to make yourself seem like a better option comparatively. And I've been seeing all these videos recently. These men get outliers and like, oh, and see the white man. Oh, the white man. As I say every single day on this app, all XYs are trash. I don't trust any of them. But anybody can see there's a difference in the degree and the level of degeneracy. And when I say degeneracy, I'm speaking to what is acceptable in everyday life, because there are outliers all over in every group, but this is commonplace. You know what the term running a train means. And these men are online and on platforms talking about it openly, having done this since middle school and some even before. I just want to repeat, that is abnormal. And protect your daughters. I have been banging that drum since January of 2025. As we go into 2026, I'm going to say it again. They couldn't get to you, so they're trying to get to your daughters. Do not leave them vulnerable. Do not put them in these spaces where they're going to be at risk. Because how many of these stories? Oh, I was at school. I was in the confines of whatever after school supposedly safe activity. And that's when these train stories are jumping off. Young kids hanging out with friends or whatever, and do not let your daughter be the sacrifice. Gynos are on here talking about the fistulas and the prolapse they are seeing in young girls because of these degenerates trying to imitate what they've seen in corn about these boys as young as 7 being exposed to pornography and then wanting to try to harm your child. Just say no. Protect your girls at all costs, whatever it takes. Because no one else in the world is going to do it but you. And they are going to have every excuse on their side. Boys will be boys, and maybe you misunderstood. Oh, he just likes her. Don't let your daughter be harmed by these teens and whatnot who are being influenced and given game by grown men who are training them to override your child's consent, who are training them in how to manipulate and, coerce your child.
Whenever we talk about the harm that women go to in the arms of men, there's always a woman out there coming out to tell us, oh, not my dad, oh, not my brother, oh, not my husband. Yes, not all men. Honestly, when a woman going to get that it is all men, it is every single man until it is no man. These women are so sure that the men in their lives are not going to harm them. These women are so sure that the men in their lives are good men because they are not directly harming them right now. They don't know that these men may be good men to them, but what kind of men are there out there? What kind of men are there to other women? And these women think that, oh, just because these men are treating them nice right now, that these men will always treat them nice, that these men will always protect them. And that is simply not true. A lot of these men do not just harm the women in their lives directly because they are gaining other things from you. Yes, they are gaining other things from you and they don't want to aggravate you or annoy you so that you will stop giving them those things that they are gaining from you. So instead of harming you or assaulting you or putting you in direct danger, they will put you in indirect danger. And some of them will just ignore you and they will not harm you, but they will go out there and they will commit harm, they will commit outrageous things to other women out there while you are at home thinking, wow, this man is such a good man. And if you are the kind of woman that you feel like, okay, it's okay for them to go out there and harm other women as long as they are not harming me at all, I pity you, because this should teach you that these men are going to harm you one day. The fact that they are harming other women, it simply means that they are going to harm you one day. Maybe they've not had the opportunity to harm you right now, but one day is one day and they are going to harm you that day. These men do not care whether you are their wives. They do not care whether you are their mothers. They do not care whether you are their sisters, whether you are even their daughters, yes, their own flesh and blood. They will harm you if they want to harm you. I don't know if you guys heard about the case in South Korea. Actually, there have been multiple cases in South Korea. No wonder these South Korean women are going for B and they are just letting it all burn down. Because there have been multiple cases in South Korea where men and even young boys, yes, teenage boys, very young boys, they join platforms and they create platforms, online platforms, in which they share indecent and sexual pictures of their female relatives. These men and young boys will either wait for their female relatives to sleep. They'll wait for their mothers, for their daughters, for their sisters to fall asleep, and then they'll take indecent photos of them. And then they will share these photos online with other men. In some other severe cases, these men actually added medicine to these women's either food or drinks to make them sleep. Yes. And then after they fell asleep, they took indecent photos of them and they shared those photos online with other men. There are even more severe cases in which these men actually invited other men and other boys to come over and sexually abuse their female relatives. Yes, they allowed other men to come over and sexually abuse their mothers, their daughters, their wives. And this is not a one-off situation. This thing have happened multiple times in South Korea. And it happened, I remember a case very vividly of it happening in Singapore also. Although in that situation, it was their wives that were the targets. A group of men decided to create a platform in which they shared, it started with sharing intimate photos of their partners, and then all of a sudden they found themselves that they were drugging their partners, and then when their partners were passed out, they would invite men, both men on their group and also men that were not on their group. They will invite these men to come over to their house to sexually assault their wives and to rape their wives. And this is also not the only situation. I don't know if you remember, but not so long ago, there was also a case in France where a Frenchman would drug his wife for decades. This man has been getting drugged for decades because she's been married to this man for so long that she even has an adult daughter that they assume may also be a victim of this man. But we are not sure. But of the woman's case, we are sure. This man would drug his wife and he would allow strangers, men he do not know about, men he do not know about their sexual history, do not know about their health history. These men could have STDs. He was putting her in danger, in serious danger. And he would allow these men to come over to his house to sexually assault his wife. And he was okay with it, and this was happening for years. These men do not really like you. If you think because you are their wives, you are their daughters, that they like you, no. These men do not hold familiar bonds with women in high esteem. When it comes to it, especially these other male-centered men, when it comes to it in the midst of their fellow men, instead of them protecting you, they will let you get hurt as long as it makes them feel good, as long as it makes them feel as if they are among the boys, as long as it gives them like a bit of bravado, a bit of like belonging among their boys. They are going to allow their boys, their fellow men, to do a lot of harm, great harm to you, even if you are their family members. Thanks for staying to the end of this video. Remember to give it a thumbs up if you found this interesting, and also subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to also check out these videos in the playlist right here.